Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book, The Identity Manual, no other than Mr. Franklin Izanwa. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Franklin, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Hello, Daniel. Thanks for having me here. It's a privilege and an honor. I get to do this with you. Yes, just as mentioned, my name is Franklin, and I'm currently based in Ottawa, Canada. I am originally from Lagos, Nigeria. So I came in here many years ago for my undergraduate program. Yeah, I studied computer science with specialization in software engineering, and everyone they think about and aspire towards having like greener pastures and better life. So that's probably what brought me here to Canada. So after graduating from university, I ended up landing at that time like the dream job that I wanted at the time as a software developer at a multinational company. And yeah, doing that and things have been going good and whatnot. And a couple of years into the the position, doing the work and in pursuit of success and all of those things, I found myself in a place where I felt like I did not know who I was. I was beginning to question so many things about belief, about life, about success. And looking back, it turned out that I was dealing with an identity crisis. Actually, so I got to know about that later on. But yeah, thankfully, I was able to get help from mentors, coaches, and they were able to help me to navigate that period at this phase. But I think I'm at a place where I'm on a mission to mostly just help people to tap into their unique and their true identity so that they can become their best version as well. So that's something that is just really very exciting and fires me up these days.
Mr. Franklin Izanwa, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. So, what is the main purpose of the Identity Manual?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just continuation from the story. I remember at the time when I was going through that period of an identity crisis, feeling like I did not know who I was, questioning so many beliefs that I had, and I was dealing with a lot of identity related issues, low self esteem, low self worth, and the comparison trap. So many other issues that I was dealing with at the time. It's kind of like it was a scary and a grimy place. And then deep down in that spot, I remember in my bedroom, I just said to myself and I said to God that once I got out from that place, I was going to help as many people as possible to not go into that state if possible. But those who are already there, I was going to see how I can help them to, just yank them out from that state just so that they can be more in tune with who they are. They can know who they are because when we know who we are, we know who we're not, and it gives us a sense of confidence, right? We don't feel like we're an imposter. We don't feel like we're inferior. So um, that was pretty much the story behind the book, and I'm just very excited and happy about the journey so far and how many people that the book have been able to help as well.
So, how does the book define identity?
Yeah. So pretty much identity is what makes each person unique. It's what distinguishes people who even are of the same, I would say, who look the same. It what makes us different and what makes us unique. And the very amazing thing is that a number of times we can have this tendency to want to shy away from who we truly are, maybe because we don't fit in. But in truth, identity is what makes us unique. And what makes us unique is what makes us different. And what makes us different can also be the thing that makes us special, right? And those are some of the essence that I try to capture in this book. And everybody owning into who they really are, because who they are is what makes them unique. And what makes us unique is what makes us special as well. And that way we can shine our lights as our different
Mhm.
lights and affect different people across the world. But it starts with us owning our uniqueness. If we shy away from our
Yes.
uniqueness because we want to become like other people. Someone once said that be yourself because everybody else is taken. So each of us, we are like individual lights. We shine differently. So if I decide to dim my light, then people will not see the radiance of who I really am. And the same way, with what you're doing, for example, I'm sure you have something unique and special with your podcast, and which is really very amazing. I've heard so many of your episodes, and you're doing a very good job. So imagine if you decided to go do what somebody else was doing. We are not going to enjoy the beauty and the uniqueness of your light. So I'm so happy that you're doing what you're doing. So keep up the great work, Daniel. I just wanted to share that as well.
Thank you so much. God created
Yeah,
us uniquely. So
absolutely.
what are the key factors that shape a person's identity?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to the question of identity, I know that first of all, we have what makes us unique. We have like the personalities. We have different attributes, traits, right? Um,
Yes.
and that's what uniquely defines us. Although I know that there may be some environmental factors that may play a role in who we are as a person. So, for example, nobody like we didn't get to define or to pick where we were going to be born in. We didn't get to define what state we're going to be born in. All of those things, they're part of our identity, right? But still, it's what makes us unique, even though we did not get to pick those things. But obviously, they're going to be part of our identity that we don't really have a say in. All we just have to do is to discover it. I remember somebody once said that identity is not cannot be found or fabricated, but it emerges from within. All we just have to do is to have the courage to find it, right? So everything is already
Yes.
inside of us, and it's just a matter of us discovering, going on a self-discovery journey, finding out what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses too. But we want to focus a lot more on our strengths. We want to find out what lights us up. We want to find out what makes us come alive. We want to find out what are the things that we're very passionate about. What are the things that that keep us late at night? So I think all of those things, they make up different parts of our identity. And again, it's a combination of them that makes us unique and something that we want to embrace and be very unapologetic about.
So, Mr. Franklin, how does the book differentiate between the true identity and the false sense of self?
The true identity
Yes, and the
and
false
the
sense of self.
oh yeah, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. So first of all, everybody obviously I know we all come into this world and we may not really know who we are at the initial phase. But the true identity, I would say, is what already is resonating with us, is the core
Yes.
of our essence, the things that we consider to be like our core values, the things that are already, within us. Like, for example, the things that I was talking about, like what's our personality traits, what are what are the things that we're passionate about, what are our areas of calling and purpose. So I feel like those are the things that genuinely makes us who we are. The fake or the false sense of it could just be the ones where we are trying to imitate or to copy from other people,
Yes.
right? So there's this concept of, say, conformity. Conformity, when we have the tendency to want to be like everybody else. And we want to be like everybody else because we want to fit in. We want to fit in because we want to have a sense of belonging. And that's obviously, I understand, is one of the fundamental human needs, according to Abraham Maslow's pyramid of needs. So that one's kind of like same valid, but it can be very destructive when we hide our true self because we want to become, we want to conform into whether it's societal standards or we want to become like some quote unquote some cool people out there. So we become like a fake version of ourselves, especially when the thing we want to become or the people we want to become like, um, they don't resonate with the core of our essence. I really resonate a lot with that, especially I mean, this is something that I talked about in my book because I know that was a place where I found myself as well, where I was trying to really max who I really was. because I wanted to become what, say, the world was saying. I was trying to define my life based on, say, the world's definition of success, or the world's definition of, what it is to live like a good life. And in the process of that, I literally felt like I lost myself, because what I was ascribing or fighting to was different than what was at the core of my essence. And there was a lot of inner conflict across the line.
So, what
Yeah.
are the common causes of identity crisis according to the book?
So the so I think in general, when it comes to this topic of identity crisis, I know that there was like a study that was done many years ago about that, and there are definitely different reasons why a person could go through an identity crisis, and a number of times it has to do with change. It has to do with change.
Okay.
So some very common causes of identity crisis could just be when somebody changes their career. I think that was when they changed their career, and and this one was something that I was beginning to face at some point. I've always been a person of like tech. That's where I'm still there right now. But when I was trying to explore the area of personal development and personal success with speaking and writing, I think there was a huge change that I had to really like step into. So I think that was probably part of the identity crisis season that I went through as well. So change of any sort can be one of the biggest reasons people can go through an identity crisis, whether it's like a change in environment, change in a job, change in career, change in location, a change in somebody's status, right? Somebody who maybe was married and they're not married, somebody who was say married, so who was not married and becomes married or divorced. So I think there are a number of different reasons that could cause identity crisis, but I feel like no one reason can be the major cause. It could be like a combination of different changes that can cause someone to go through like an identity crisis as well in the course of their life.
So, Mr. Franklin, what would be your short term and long term goals in writing?
Yeah. So in terms of the short term goal, I would say that I I think at this point I've written three books. And in terms of the short term goal, right now I am just planning to, or rather, what I plan to do is to focus more on getting the word out. And part of the way I'm doing that is obviously with podcasts. I'm doing speaking engagements, and I also do like life coaching as well. So I'm trying to see how I can take the lessons and the fundamentals in the books that I've written and spread it and like just take it out there, right? So that's like in the short term. So in the long term, I plan to write more books. I have a lot of other book ideas that I've documented, but I'm not looking to focus a lot more on them now because, again, I want to take time to spread the word out about the different books that I've written so far.
So, what would be your advice for those people out there who want to write their stories, novels, or anything else they want to write?
Yes, absolutely. I would say one of the very biggest lesson would be a lesson or advice I would say is first of all to believe that you can do it. I know before I started writing, I had a lot of like, self doubt, and a number of them was stemming from, say, experiences that I'd gone through. One of them, for example, being when I was in high school, I I didn't do very well in English. So one of the limiting belief that was coming to me was I didn't do well in English. Then how do I think I'm going to be able to write a book? Right. So I think first of all, just knock off all the limiting beliefs. You can do it if you put your heart on your mind to do it. And the other thing that I would just say is to look for somebody who you can learn from, who has done it before. That was one of the things that I did before I started writing. I took some courses on writing a book. Brian Tracy was one of the guys that I really liked so much. So I took some of the courses from some of the guys that have written many books. So I learned from them. And then the next thing I would just say is just start writing.
Mm.
Just start writing. You write and you write and you write, and you're going to keep getting better and better at the process of writing a book. And just own up to it. Whatever you put your heart and your mind in, you can do it. Just own up to it and get going, start writing. The world needs what you have. You may not think that to be, like a heavy fact, but it's really very true. And that's something that I've come to understand as well. That you have something valuable, and the world needs what you have. So go write the book.
Yes, go right and stop procrastinating. I featured Brian Tracy.
Oh yeah.
I think first episode, no, not first season. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. You need to
Oh,
read it.
nice, nice, nice. That's awesome.
Yes,
Yeah, I love Brian Tracy's work a lot.
he's a Canadian
I
author.
heard.
So
Yes, I
what?
heard.
So what are the key benefits of embracing an authentic identity?
Oh wow, yeah, there are so many of them. A lot of them. I know one of them is the feeling of confidence. When we know who we are and we know who we are not, then we can own it, and we can own it unapologetically, and we're not concerning ourselves with what people think or say about us. I feel like that is really very, very powerful. That's one of them. I think another one would just be that when we know and we step into our unique identity, it also gives us an idea of what are our areas of purpose, our area of purpose, because I believe strongly that um, part of our identity includes the strengths that we have, our skills, and all those strengths and skills that we have, they are there to equip us to do our purpose. So when we have an idea of those strengths and the skills, they also give us an idea of the areas where we need to be focusing on in terms of calling and purpose as well. And I will say that another reason why we really want to step into our unique identity is that at the end of the day, it's going to help us to achieve fulfillment. When we own up to who we really are, when we live authentically, we pursue goals that are authentic to us, and not pursuing goals that are just there because we want to, impress, or we are using it for something that is not part of the core of who we are. I think in essence that when we focus on our identity, we step into it, eventually we're going to achieve fulfillment. And I believe that fulfillment is part of what we are all in search of as well, not just success.
Definitely. So, Mr. Franklin, how does the book suggest aligning one's career and relationships with their true self?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. I think just like going back to everything that has been said. First of all, when we know who we really are, we know, say, our core values, our beliefs, right? Because again, that is part of our unique, our identity, our core value and our beliefs. And so the idea is we want to also match ourselves up, especially when it comes to relationship, with people who share the same core values and beliefs with us. That's why people talk about, connecting with people who are like-minded. I believe that that concept of like-mindedness has a lot to do as well with alignment in terms of core values and beliefs, because it's going to be very hard for people to work together in partnership of any sort if they don't have that alignment in like the core values. Because again, our core values, I believe, is what drives us, and this happens on a subconscious level. So we want to be sure that first of all, we know what our core values, we know what drives us, and then we can pick whether like the partners or whoever it is based on the core values. Especially if we want the partnership to last long, right? It has to be built on certain core values like integrity and honesty and all of those things. So I think that's pretty much how I would approach that question.
So, what are the biggest challenges in staying true to one's identity?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there are quite a number of them, but two of them that really like, come to mind right now. Number one is this need to conform. Um, like out there in the world, there is this idea that this is what, say, success looks like, or this is what it means to have like a fabulous life, right? So there is a number of like societal standards, a number of things that say the world tells us this is what you have to be, this is what you have to do, and everybody wants to get to do that. But the truth is, like, there's no cookie cutter approach,
Yes.
and everybody needs to know what resonates the most with you, right? So there's this strong need for conformity, right? Where everybody wants to become like everybody else because they want to have this sense of belonging. It's something that I feel we want to be very, very mindful of, because I feel like, I believe as a person of faith that God did not like, create us to just fit in, but He created us to stand out. Like we want to be like a light that shines, right, wherever it is we go. But that will not happen if we choose to just like fit in. Um, we're not going to be any different, right? So I think the need for conformity is one, and the other one is comparison. Oh my God, they say comparison is a thief of joy. When, for example, we are trying to say compare ourselves with what we feel or we think someone who is showcasing like success, right? We want to have what they have. We're comparing ourselves with what they have, but I just believe so strongly that everybody's journey is different, right? So we want to focus on our own journey. My chapter one, I cannot be comparing my chapter one with somebody's chapter 100. But, sometimes, especially with everything that we see online, people are like, brandishing, like cars, money, and all of those things. And then there's always this tendency to want to compare. Oh my God, this person is far ahead in life. Look at me. Who am I? I'm just, I'm feeling so stuck. So if we really don't know, like, about like our identity, if we don't really understand the fact that everybody's journey is different, if we don't understand the fact that we're not meant to be comparing ourselves with other people because everybody's journey is different, then it's going to be very easy for us to get into this place of like feeling depressed because we think we are behind. We're comparing ourselves, or maybe sometimes it may be the opposite. We're comparing ourselves with somebody else and we feel like, oh my God, I'm so ahead. But it's like, no, 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 no. So I feel like the best person we want to compare ourselves with is ourselves, right? Not comparing ourselves with other people.
Definitely. People don't ever compare yourself because you're God created uniquely. You have your own battles. So,
Hmm.
to wrap up our discussion, Mr. Franklin, how does the Identity Manual encourage a long term personal growth and self acceptance?
Yes, 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 absolutely. Yeah, I know that in the book there's a chapter where I talked about self acceptance, and self acceptance more so is just the concept of owning and accepting all of who we are, not thinking about ourselves as being deficient or defective in any single way. So I think one of the biggest ways is just to see what are our strengths. We want to really own up to the strengths that we have and look for ways to continue to build up on our strengths, right? And those I would say those insecurities that we have that are making us to not accept ourselves. We really want to go deep into those insecurities. We want to address them, because until and unless we address them, we're always going to feel we are inferior. We're always going to feel that we are no good. We're always going to feel that, like life is not meant to be a blessing to us. So I think on the journey of self acceptance, we want to really address those insecurities. And in most cases, those insecurities they're just a lie, a lie that we've believed long enough. So I think those are like two major ways that the book addresses that matter.
Believing within yourself, people, that
Mm.
you can do it. Mr.
Yes.
Franklin Isanwa, thank you so much for sharing your book to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. So the book, The Identity Manual, you can find it on Amazon, and also feel free to connect with me. You can find me on the different platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Franklin H Ezenwa at Franklin H Ezenwa. So looking forward to connecting with you. All the best.
Yes, people, all the best. But before we go, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Mental Health 101, my baby podcast. It's all about how to empower our mental health awareness. So let's support Mr. Franklin Izanwa, because if you support him, more empowering book like this to come. So, Mr. Franklin, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your time, Daniel. I appreciate it. And keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. And according to my analytics, I had 140, not 154 countries listening to this podcast. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. More to come, people. See you soon. Thank you, Mr. Franklin, and you are most welcome to